Very much welcome this bill tonight, and it feels like there's a renewed momentum to change the narrative on housing, at least among the real opposition. For too long now, on this side of the House, we've been ignored when it comes to our suggestions for measures to help resolve the housing emergency, or even drawing attention to the fact that there was one. Indeed, the Social Democrats called for a rent freeze over a year ago, and Fianna Fáil refused to support it at that point. Had they not sat on their hands then, we would have had less rent increases over the last 12 months. But the same is true as many things in relation to the confidence and supply situation. It has taken the focus away from the critical issues. And what it has is not only distorted government, but it has distorted the opposition as well. We're all aware of that the private rental market is the single biggest avenue into homelessness right now. And this morning the Taoiseach said that homelessness was stabilising at a very high level in Dublin. Well, Minister, it's far from stabilising outside of Dublin, and you should know that. People are facing spiralling rents and little or no security of tenure in a market where the balance of power lies predominantly with the landlord. People are afraid to report even minor repairs because they really don't want to remind the landlord that they even exist. They just want to pay the money into the bank every month. And yet we have this government whose housing policy is predominantly dependent on transferring huge sums like €500 million of public money directly into private landlords in 2020 alone. We're now in the 32nd quarter in a row where rents have risen, and the average rents are now over double what they were in the Celtic Tiger era. Thousands of renters are paying over 70% of their income in rent, which is literally unsustainable. The argument that the Taoiseach and the Minister have both put forward against a rent freeze is that it would be too expensive, or it'll have unintended consequences. Well, Minister, we know what the intended consequences are. We can see them with not having a rent freeze. And they're quite catastrophic for people who are finding themselves in situations where they're homeless, in emergency accommodation, or told to go and self-accommodate, which means sleeping on somebody else's couch. We support this bill, and we're likely to seek to amend it at committee stage, particularly on the tax provision section. We're not convinced, but we're open to being convinced that an incentive-based scheme is the best way to ensure fair treatment of all in the rental sector, and similar to the Help to Buy scheme. It could have a distorting impact on the sector and may well disadvantage some people. Minister, I just want to finish off by saying, yet again, I think this is my fourth time in the last couple of weeks that what is happening with HAP at the moment, HAP is a problem anyway, is chaotic. The length of time that people are having to wait to go through the administration of HAP it means that they are finding it almost impossible to get accommodation in parts of the country. That needs to be addressed, and I'll keep on saying it until it is addressed. But I do feel that no matter what we say here, the Minister Murphy stands up and he is absolutely convinced that what he is doing is right. He really needs to start to listen, and that is something that hasn't been evident up to now.